Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing some old shame resurfacing. Is this happening to you right now? It seems to be a theme and there's a reason why. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please click the little subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. I want to dive right into this. I have been away from YouTube for a while. I've been focusing on my new podcast, but now I feel like I've been neglecting you guys, so I am back in full swing. And I wanted to start with this one. Look, Pluto just went into Aquarius. I am not a huge astrology person, but I do see the connection. I do think it's important. So I started asking my astrology friends, what the hell is going on? I know we just launched into the Aquarian Age. The paradigm has shifted, but all of a sudden, I'm seeing and experiencing in my clients, friends, and self, these old waves of, let's say, old shame are resurfacing. And I had this download the other day. I had this weird experience with someone. And I was like, ooh, that is so similar to my original wound, right? And I got to sit there and I got to feel the shame arise. And I remember thinking to myself, I know better than this, right? So I know you don't believe the shame, but I felt it and I allowed it. And I was like, wow, this is such a mirror of that old experience. What do I want to do with it? And the download I had was that, look, we're in the Aquarian Age. Do you guys know what that means? Don't worry. I definitely am putting my book out this year because it's all about this. But the Aquarian Age is when we shift from the Piscean Age, which was like control, society, all of that, into the heart-centered leadership, which is the age of Aquarius. This is what we have entered now for the next 9 years. I think it's going to be longer, where we are breaking down old systems, which I've been trying to do for the last 11 years, right? Breaking down old systems and standing in more of an authentic way of being. For the last 11 years, I've been coaching highly sensitive people and people with emotional wounds to really own their power and heal the emotional wounds so that it's not in the way. It's not acting as your trauma-based coping mechanism, but instead you can see clearly from a soul-centered place, from your wise guide inside, and act accordingly to the worthy one, to the one who is mature emotionally, to the one who is healed. So often people are coming to me recently saying, I'm at this level, but I keep sabotaging myself, or it won't go this level. And I say, guys, the whole thing that's going on right now in the world is what I would call the goal line versus the soul line. We are going on the goal line, right? We're trying to achieve. And then we can do that because we kind of bypass some of our shit, or we have coping mechanisms, or we have external sources of validation, and we get to this level. But then when we want to go to that next level, what it requires is that we do all the work on our soul line so that we can match. If we don't do the emotional wound work to the really high level, which I'm going to be talking about today, we can't actually reach our true authentic self and then shine as our full purpose, which is what is being asked of us right now. We cannot live as our true authentic self when we have emotional wounds that trigger us into actions, reactions, and coping mechanisms that don't allow us to act and live as our true self. You know what I'm talking about. So one of those big wounds that's coming up for most people is shame. Shame says there's something wrong with me. Oftentimes people will have this mechanism that they don't want to upset anyone or they don't want to do anything wrong. So what you'll do is you'll recreate the shame cycle. And what I mean is, here's an example. I did a reel about this on Instagram the other day, but I'm going to give you a longer version. The example is, say you've learned I have to please people to make them love me. Okay, well now you're going to work with people that you're trying to please because you don't have the boundary around the fact that you're not supposed to work with these people. They're not great people. And because you have to please everyone because of your coping mechanism, because you can't have shame, you'll work with them and then you will fail at that work because that's the kind of people they are. And if you would have had the boundary, you would have said no. And now you're working with them and you're going to fail and then the shame comes in. So we recreate patterns of shame because of the coping mechanism we put in place many, many years ago to ensure that we won't feel the shame. But when you get to a certain level, if you don't just face the truth and you don't have strong boundaries around what's true for you rather than what's people pleasing or perfectionistic or what the right thing should be, according to society and idealism, rather than my truth and my authenticity and my heart, then you're going to have this cycle again. And so what do? One thing people don't realize is they're so afraid to be in their true authentic power because number one, maybe that pissed a parent off when you were in your power and so you weren't allowed to be in your power. They gave you an upper limits issue because you being in your power would threaten the fact that they're inadequate emotionally. A great example of that is children who react because of the way they're being treated and then they get in trouble for their reaction, right? Reactionary abuse. And what happens there is you're like, I just won't have a need. I won't react. I must be wrong. There must be something wrong with me. Until we rise up to that next level of understanding that the thing that was wrong was the way they treated you. It wasn't your power that was scary. It was scary to them because now you're going to see that they're treating you wrong. And if you have doubt in you, maybe you'll doubt that what you're seeing is actually bad treatment. Take that in. That's a whole course I've got called I Am Worthy, right? So this is what we have to understand. The shame is coming up so that we can reframe it, integrate it, and heal so we can be heart-centered leaders. You can't fully lead from your heart in the Aquarian age and get to that next level in your career unless you heal these very specific emotional wounds that have been buried and unresolved to a pretty good level inside of your heart. Sure, you can get by in society and you can be the CEO and you can be the president, you can do all that, but not of your own company if it's an authentic company. Because you're not fully in your heart. But you don't have to be fully in your heart to run a bunch of these things, right? You do have to be fully in your heart if you're a healer, if you're a doctor, if you're a therapist, if you're anything that has to do with true authenticity and being your true self and living your true purpose, you're going to have to do the wound work. You're going to have to do the shame work. And it's gnarly. It is. So this is how we reframe it. The shame comes up. What you don't want to do is believe what the shame is telling you. I had a client today in my inner work group and she said, well, Candace, I felt this about this guy, but then the stuff I did was crazy. So it makes me think, was I not even really feeling that? Was it not a true feeling? I said, honey, this is the reality. The feeling was true. The reaction you had to that feeling because it came from a wounded place is not you. It's the wounded reactivity. You is the feeling. The higher version of you wouldn't have done that because it was trying to get external validation. The higher part of you says, this is my feeling, I own it. If they don't like it or agree, that's fine. I'm a woman. I am of integrity. This is how I act. And she says, yeah, it was my wounded teenager. I said, I know. I could see the little 17-year-old coming up talking to me. That's another session I'll talk about. But this happens often. I had somebody's 4-year-old come to me and tell me they had trauma at 4. And I said, did you have trauma at age 4? There's something blocking you. He's like, how would you know that, right? This is the intricacies I like to do in my one-on-one coaching or in my small groups. That was a group and people were like, wow. So this is what happens. The clarity drops in when you are no longer afraid to own your boundaries and live in aligned action with what you feel, not your reactivity, what you know to be true. So when you have that shame come up and then you think you're about to believe what it's saying, don't do that because when you believe what it's saying, you'll start to act out into your coping mechanism to ensure that you don't have to own the shame. But what I want you to do instead, because anything you avoid is a part of yourself that you're avoiding, what I want you to do instead is bring the shame towards you and say, why do I feel this way? What could be possibly wrong about me in this moment? How could they possibly be right? That person rejected me. Did I do something wrong? All the things that come up, sit there and see it. Then look at the childhood or teenage situation that is reminding you of, because I guarantee it is. These traumas that happen right now are not new. They are old, or they wouldn't have reactivity attached to them. And also, you wouldn't be reacting in a negative way if it was your truth. So you can know right away this reaction is not your truth. It's just a trauma-based reaction. So look at that original experience that this reminds you of. Mine came up right away, and I was like, oh, this is my opportunity to remind myself consciously in this moment, because that's when transformation happens, at consciousness in the moment. Remind myself that that was never true. And then remind myself of what is true. So I did that with a client today. She's like, yeah. I go, so what happened to you when you were 17? I bet you loved someone or you were attracted to someone and they didn't match that attraction and you had shame because you thought there was something wrong with you for liking someone that didn't like you. She said, yeah. I said, great. So now as a woman, you can see that you're attracted to this person and he may or may not like you, and that does not matter at all because that is still how you feel, and how you feel is valid, and that is your truth. There is no shame in being attracted to someone that is not attracted back to you. That means you have to now deny your natural feelings because it wasn't mirrored? No, people aren't going to mirror us. We have to mirror us. So you have the opportunity right now to validate yourself out of this shame. Is there something wrong with me that I feel this? No. Is there something wrong with my reaction to this? Perhaps. That is not your identity. This is your opportunity to disidentify from the trauma-based reactions that you had when you were a kid and a teen and upgrade them with your new reality. This doesn't happen in a moment. It happens from you continuing to upgrade your reality. If someone says something to you or texts you and it's negative and you say nothing and don't respond and then you feel guilty about it, why are you feeling guilty? They don't deserve a response. Is that rude though? Am I mean? They're going to be upset that I don't text back. They know that if they were in your shoes, it's the right thing to do to not do that. People who live from that place of integrity and who have that moral compass and who are really true with their own values, that has impact. People are like, wow, I trust that person because that person did the thing I wish I was big enough to do. So now you get to do the thing that most people wish they were big enough to do and heal your own shame by ending the cycles of recreating the shame based on the trauma-based reactivity. Instead, sit in the feeling. Stop doing the reaction so that you don't have to sit in the feeling. You're not going to die by feeling a feeling. You might do something wrong and bad and shameful by reacting to that feeling that is uncomfortable. So we're going to start to expand our window of tolerance for uncomfortable emotions. I want to remind you guys too, I had this client this morning. I've talked about her a lot. She's amazing. And she was telling me that her old pattern was she would kind of shrink and like put all of her attention on the narcissistic person in her family because she just felt like that's what she had to do to get their love, because anytime she would put attention on herself, they would be negative or get loud. So she's like, we've been working together for a while. And she said, I tried it today. And actually, instead of catering to this person at all, I was just taking care of my needs. I went and got something to eat. I was like watching what I wanted. I was doing my stuff. And she was getting more and more aggravated. Why is that? I said, because when you put pride in yourself and you actually honor your own self over catering to someone else, they are going to feel very threatened that your attention is not on them. They're going to feel very threatened that you are in your power. And when you're in your power, you're going to have the clarity to see who they truly, clearly are. And that's not going to be good for them. So when you're feeling that shame come up, ask yourself, why is this wrong? Is it because I'm trying to protect someone else so they like me? Good. Stop doing that. I have so much more to say on this, but just so you know, if your shame is coming up right now, it is because Pluto just went into Aquarius. You are being asked to clear any and all unresolved issues in your heart to live as a heart-centered leader. If you want help with this, you can check my website. I have a gazillion courses, and I can give you, if you want to DM me or put a message under here, ask me what is best for you. I also do one-on-one. I've opened new one-on-one client sessions for January. I think we're full until mid-January, but I will start seeing new clients then. Also, join the Truth Room if you just want this kind of work every single week with a small group of highly sensitive people. Join the Truth Room. Those are all my things right now. Please come say hi to me on Instagram. Please check out my podcast. We're up and running that again. Please share this with at least one person you think it could help. I love you guys as usual, and I'll see you again soon.